Hello everyone, welcome back to another Deathmatch Expert 1 vs 1 game. Today we have a Goth War between VNS Tempo in the green and ThisImComing in the blue. This is a Goth War, which means we'll see some very interesting opening strategies. We can see here that green has already put several villagers on his first barracks, which is not a normal strategy, and this is that way it gets created faster, so that way he can immediately start creating other units, such as halberdiers or elite huskarls from it. This lets him defend versus this scout before it even gets here, which is why it's a smart move. He does want to make sure he does defend that though, and not let that villager die, but it's not a big deal. We can see our other player is going for a 4 barracks, several workshop opening. That's a standard opening, while VNS Tempo is going for the same thing. So this is the standard Goth opening, which is where you create 4 workshops, you create 4 barracks, several workshops, and just a bunch of houses. The reason you don't create so many military buildings is because the Goths create units so fast that having 10 barracks out doesn't do anything for you if you're just housed. Anyway, we can see that the players aren't being that aggressive. They are running in a few huskarls, but they did get 1 villager kill. So blue is 2 villagers ahead, but nothing so major at the moment. That could spiral into something, but I don't think so. If we look at the population count, VNS Tempo is only a few in population ahead, so this game does not have a very fast start, which is something interesting that many deathmatch players might find surprising, which is that the Goths in a Goth War, oftentimes you can't really just rush the heck out of your opponent because your opponent has matched you in civilization, so it's irregular in that regard. We can also see the heavy scorpions coming out from our green player, and this is exactly what you do with the Goths. The heavy scorpions, not a strong unit in random map, but they are strong in deathmatch, because they deal with infantry very well. And unless you want to spend food to make hand cannoneers, you should spend the wood to make the heavy scorpions, that way you don't run out of that resource. Up top, we can see that blue has already changed his unit into champions. They're worse because, look at this, you can't get as many out of them because they're not created as fast, but they have better stats than the huskarl in a straight up fight, which is why oftentimes Goth Wars kind of transition out of huskarls and into champions. And in my games, where I've overextended myself or overcommitted into huskarls, that's come back to hit me in the butt like it's doing here. Because champions and heavy scorpions beat huskarls and heavy scorpions. Tempo, he does seem to be changing into champions now, but it is a little later than I think you should do. Because right now, these huskarls, with an equal amount of champions on the other side, they're gonna die. So that's the problem with it. We can see that players are trying to multitask and deal with several things at once, because these units were just kind of patrolling in, they weren't really microing them at that moment, because VNS Tempo, he's trying to control this army right here, but he's also trying to control this army, and he's trying to control this army, and he's trying to control his villagers, because you don't want this right here. That's kind of unfortunate. If you look at the town center numbers for each player, we can see about 4 town centers going up for green, but these are town centers. It looks about the same number for blue, but blue does look like he has a better start with some castles out up front, and just a better, more map control build, I'd say. He's got a better looking base. Those castles right here, I guess it's not important to have them up now, but it's still nice to have them up at some time. Here we can see how important it is, though, to have heavy scorpions, because look at all that damage they were dealing. However, you gotta not let your meat shield to the heavy scorpions die, because otherwise this will happen right here, where the infantry just push through and kill them anyway. Instead, you want this situation to happen right here, where your infantry maybe get dealt a little bit of hits, but it's nothing drastic. And the heavy scorpions just deal with the enemies. Looking at the positions on the map, you can see that players are not trying to really attack each other head on. Instead, they're trying to gain map control and make armies on these side engagements. The reason you want to do this is because in a 1v1 game, you need to secure those extra resources, especially for the Goths. And if you go into a position where your enemy has 4,000 gold and you have 0 gold left, you'll have to switch into trash units or use the market, which is inefficient, and your opponent will be able to deal with you. But look at how many heavy scorpions there are right here. These are just going to annihilate these. It's kind of interesting that they are grouping up, so a few good scorpion shots could deal a lot of damage. But, you know, this is just what happens when you patrol units. Down low, we see some raiding trying to keep this town center. That one got denied right there. We can see that green really is set his heart on taking this hill right here. He's just patrolling back and forth. Nice little engagement right there. So if I was in these players' positions, I'm trying to think about what I'd be doing. I would say that I'd want to defend this area right here, because there's 1 gold on the left side of the map, but there are a lot more golds on the right side of the map, so I'd want castles up here, maybe even workshops and barracks right here to get units created. And it looks like that blue is going to be able to push in and really harm green's base if he doesn't put those castles up. And yep, like I said, castles, siege workshops, outposts, strongest building in the game by far. So this is just what happens in deathmatch, where the players stop fighting for a bit and they just decide to set back and create their bases and think about their overall strategy. This town center, yeah, it's going to go down. Looks like green really needs to have some answers to these. And this is something I do not like what the players have been doing, is that, oh, they're finally creating onagers. That's what I was just about to say. The counter triangle goes Huskarls, then it goes to champions, then it goes to heavy scorpions, and then it goes back to onagers. So, you need to have onagers to take out these heavy scorpions. You don't want to group up your units like this, man. Look at all that damage he got dealt right there. You just gotta delete that mining camp or something. But the infantry were able to get in and just clear out those heavy scorpions. So, that's a lot of heavy scorpions, so I'd say that was a much worse engagement for blue, but Tempo still took some unnecessary damage right there. Up here, though, it looks like ThisImComing has switched his control to up top. But again, it looks like green could be caught off guard, but these units it looks like he selected all of them when he patrolled it, so he's not going to get the best surprise advantage he can come with the champions finally coming in, but it was enough. He was able to catch those heavy scorpions out of position, and he was able to deal with these infantry units. And sometimes, you know, deathmatch is so fast, especially this game, because it's on Voobly, it's single queue, so if you want to create units, you have to manually click through your barracks or use the shift trick, which still takes a lot of time. So it's very difficult to control your army on Voobly with the faster speed and the creation times of the short creation times of the Goths, and just having to be a single queue. So it's very, very difficult. I would like to see more onagers, or maybe even bombard cannons from these players, though, because you definitely got to deal with the scorpions. I don't know, I'm big on army control. I'm not very good at the macro side of deathmatch. I'm not very good at creating town centers and your economy and really gaining map control, but what I like is to more control your army and the army compositions. So maybe these players might not have the best army composition, but they're still far better than I am. So it doesn't really matter. But I would definitely like to see just like one onager right here. Just one onager. Another scorpion infantry engagement where the scorpions are going to deal a lot of damage to these guys right here, but having not the right size meat shield could be harmful. Now, the elite Huskarls with all their pierce armor can catch these scorpions out of position. And I like what Blue's trying to do. He's trying to avoid these, he's trying to do some raids, but I think he should have tried to take out these heavy scorpions. Up on the top, though, the Huskarls come in to try to get raids. And this is really the position or the point of using Huskarls. This is the role of Huskarls in Goth War, which is just to raid. Oftentimes, I'll just place 1 or 2 barracks at the side of the map and just, you know, set my rally point right here and just spam in 15 Huskarls, and all those will die. Or maybe he'll have to move these units back, which will let this be open. Another engagement up here, where the players, just again, your standard Heavy Scorpion infantry patrol engagement. But what I do not like about what Green's doing is he's not really capturing ground. Because he has one castle here, and he had 2 castles here. But I think that you want to place, a castle on here. That's exactly on this hill, so that's good. But if I was him, I like aggressive castles. I'd put one just right there when I had my army here. And that would make it much more difficult. That means that you'd have to take out you'd have to create rams or trebuchets to create those. To destroy the castle, rather. So, I think a castle is just always it's very underrated in deathmatch games. They can accomplish a whole lot when they're placed in the right position. Looks like Blue really has his heart set on taking this spot right here, which Green has really failed to fortify. I think delete those, place a castle right here will do it. But he doesn't have very much of his economy right here, so Blue's raid isn't going to do that much. He will kill Huskarls and champions, but he's going to lose just so much gold's worth of Heavy Scorpions. And I think that we've really seen Blue do this several times. He has a good strategy. He wants to kind of circle around, but he doesn't control his army well enough, and he just loses so many of these Heavy Scorpions. Like, all these guys are going to die. Yeah, they killed a lot of infantry, but he also lost infantry. Whereas if you look at what Tempo's been doing, he's been keeping his Heavy Scorpions alive. I think that might really explain their ratings. Our player in the blue is about 200 rated below Tempo, which it's hard to say. Some days, if you just have a bad day, you can be 200 points below somebody and you can still destroy them easily. So it's very hard to say what the points really mean. And again, some players might be really good with the Huns, but suck with the Goths, so that could be part of it. But this match has looked pretty fair. But I like what Green has been doing. He's been suiciding his cheaper units in to take out these expensive Heavy Scorpions. Like, this fight was a win for Green because he destroyed 7 or 10 Heavy Scorpions right there, which is a lot of gold. Blue looks like Green rather, Tempo, excuse me about that, does not want to. If I was him, I'd try to take out this portion. Let's see if he knows it's here because he can see the farms. So if I was him, I'd spam in and try to kill that. If you look at the villager counts, Blue is a little bit low at 80 villagers, so we can start to see that his population is also low at 140. So he's having some trouble really fielding his army well. I guess his macro just hasn't been that great. He hasn't been replenishing his villagers, and Green has. It's so weird that you see these little town centers in the corner of the map that are just kind of out there that really aren't doing anything, except for being a sneaky section of his economy. Again, it looks like the Scorpions, those aren't going to die actually. This time it was Green who was caught out of position. The Champions and the Scorpions will deal with the Huskarls, which is exactly what you would expect. But I want to see what Green's doing, because he doesn't have that many barracks out. He's not really spamming that much, but this army right here has been perplexing me. It's not really been doing anything the past few minutes. If you just had this in right here, parked the trebuchets against this, you could deal a lot of damage. He is finally coming though, and it looks like he will try to field an assault on Blue's left side, which I really think he should have been doing for the past several minutes. Just create these barracks, spam these Huskarls in. So I like what he's doing now. Over at the top, though, he's placed that castle where I said to, directly on the hill. So that's forcing Tempo, or rather, this is forcing ThisImComing to create a trebuchet to try to take it down, which is slowing him down. Meanwhile, up top, Green had enough trebuchets to take down some castles, and he's raiding this economy. And look at all those villager deaths right there. Blue's down to 65 villagers. This is exactly the type of plays you want to see from the Goths. Because with the Goths, you can definitely fight your opponent's armies. What you need to do is you need to just spam your units into the opponent's economies and keep them from ever really getting to 200 pop. In the end, VNS Tempo, he wasn't able to do that perfectly, but he was able to pull through and to destroy economy first. And this just shows you how important it is to fortify your economy. Build a castle there. Build a castle there. I mean, I guess he did, but they were taken out by this Trebs. So it shows you how important it is to make sure to have siege in your army. These 2 trebuchets are the only 2 trebuchets that Blue made the entire game. So of course he's not able to push once these castles are out. So just a very interesting, exciting Goth War. Goths is very irregular as far as deathmatch go because of that strange opening. Tell me what matchup you want to see in the next one. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.